Our first guest is the self-proclaimed most electrifying man in sports entertainment. He currently stars in America's #1 film, The Scorpion King. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome The Rock. Nice to have you here.
Thank you. Good to be here.
This is pretty exciting. It's like a big deal. It's like the biggest movie in the country. That must make you feel pretty good, doesn't it?
It is, yeah. Very lucky, very humbled.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And how did you get to wrestling and then become a movie star and stuff like that? Because, you know, a lot of guys can do it, sort of, but then they don't become the #1 star in the country. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is quite an achievement, but how did that begin for you?
Well, when I first started wrestling, I always thought that one day I would love to transition into film and become an actor and hopefully one day become a really good actor. And I had the opportunity with The Mummy Returns. We did that and then blossomed into The Scorpion King.
Right. And are your other wrestling peers, are they jealous of you?
No, you know what? They're cool. Yeah, they're very supportive.
Yeah.
And speaking of wrestling, quick side story, Paul.
Yeah.
Whipper Billy Watson. Right? Right.
See? Yeah.
It's a great story. Whipper Billy Watson, who Paul was referring to, my dad's from Canada, and my dad used to wrestle, of course, in the 80s. Whipper Billy Watson trained my dad.
How about that?
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you.
Did you ever hear of Dick the Bruiser?
Yes, yeah,
He was like
sure.
a big deal in the Midwest, and I guess all over the country for a long time.
Sure,
But that was in the early, well, not so much the early days, but like in the 60s and...
Nostalgic days.
Yeah, that's right. But he was... He was the world's most dangerous wrestler, you know.
He was, yeah. Well, the name like that, I think you know, have to be.
And I'm guessing the answer to this is obvious, but it was because of your family. You were an athlete in college. You played football at the University of Miami.
Sure.
But it was because of your family that you went into wrestling?
Well, because of that lineage, I mean, it helped to transition. And I love the wrestling business as well. That live audience is something that always captivated me.
Now, if a guy like me, well, not a guy like me, but let's say a guy wanted a career in wrestling, where do you go to do that? I mean, there are places that teach you how to become a wrestler, right?
Yeah, there are places. You really want to try and go to a reputable school. You know, it's not like, you know, so for example, a guy like you, not necessarily you, who's ready to break into the business, you know, you'd want to go to a school that, you know, not, you know, Jim Smith's wrestling school, you know, someone, you know, who.
Now, you probably, your family just taught you, right?
My dad, yeah, my dad.
And what's the most important, what's the best thing to have when you get into the ring the first time? What's the dumbest thing you can do? What's the thing you should never do?
Well, let me see. Probably the dumbest thing you could do is think that you're actually beating somebody. All right? That's your first mistake. And the best thing you can do is when you beat him, run around and tell all your friends, hey, listen, I really beat that guy.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
And then you have the submission hold. Is that what they're called? The submission hold or the finale or whatever it is? And yours is something to do with the elbow. It's the people's elbow.
People's elbow.
Now, how does that work? Now, don't do it. Don't do it on. Don't do it on me, of course.
No.
But is it something like that? Like that? Is that kind of what it is?
There's a little bit more velocity and force than just that.
You come flying off the ring ropes or something in the...
Well, yeah, it's a move that it's first of all, Dave, it's the most electrifying move in sports.
Well, I'm not going to argue with that. Now, you played for the University of Miami.
I did.
Was second string, not second string. What was your football career in college?
Well, I played football at University of Miami. We won a national title in '91. My junior year, I started half the season, then I didn't start half the season. And a guy who some of you may know beat me out for my position named Warren Sapp.
Oh, my.
And, yeah, poor Rock. Yeah.
Yeah, geez, that is a shame.
It's a shame. Yeah.
You appeared at was it the Republican convention? That's what it was, wasn't it?
I did, yes.
Yeah. Well, now, how did that come about? And
I was invited by the Republican Party to speak at the convention, and I spoke there with Dennis Hastert, and afterwards I sat in the presidential box with the president's dad, former President Bush, and Barbara Bush, and the funny story is, at that time, you know, I was weighing a little ambivalent on who I was going to vote for, and then I was checking out the presidential debates and, you know, trying to get their feel on tax reform and other social issues, things like that. So I was flying, I had my helicopter, I was flying in from New York. And this is a true story. So I'm flying, and I'm looking down where we're going to land, and this place is packed. There's limousines, there's all these cars around, and police squad cars. I'm thinking, what's going on? The pilot's like, I don't know. I said, well, just land. You know, I got to go. So I land, and as soon as I land, I get out, and I just have a little backpack, and all these guys in suits come running up to me. Apparently, they're Secret Service guys. I mean, running up and holding the helicopter there, and don't move. And I said, hey, what's the matter? And the guy's like, oh, it's The Rock. And he's like, he radios the rest of the Secret Service. Ah, it's The Rock, you know, it's okay, everything's fine. So it wound up being Al Gore's plane. So they just let this helicopter land, had no idea who it was. So after that, I said, there's no way Bush would have went for any of that BS. So I had to vote for Bush.
Because of the lax security.
Yeah.
Wrestling is a sport you can stay in for a long, long time. You can, you know, you can be much, much older than you are now and still be a wrestler. When will come the time when you say, okay, I've had enough wrestling, I want to be a full-time movie star actor? How do you know when that happens?
I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not too sure. And of course, you know, in wrestling, the entertainment industry, you're able to go for a long period of time. But
but in movies, will it work that you'll be able to do both? Will people accept you as a bona fide movie star, a legitimate actor, if you're also still wrestling, or eventually you'll have to part company with that?
I don't know, Dave. Actually, I can honestly say this is. I'll always be a part of that, and whether it's once a year or 10 times a year, I'd always love to go back for that because I love performing in front of a live audience. Yeah. But becoming an actor and a good one and continuing to grow as an actor is something that's very important to me as well.
Good for you. Now, during the commercial, go over there and put a move or a hold on Paul.
Please.
That's a pretty good picture here. And if there were any doubts about your future, they must have been resolved right there at that moment. My goodness. That's you, Andre the Giant. And he was a friend of your dad's, friend of your family's?
Sure.
Would come over to the house and
eat a lot, and I'm only kidding. He was a fantastic man.
Yeah. And how tall was the guy? Was it well over 7 feet?
Yeah, I think legit probably 7'3", 7'4".
Yeah. And how old are you in that picture there?
Probably 4.
Wow, a cute kid.
Thank you.
Yeah, very nice. Now you did go on. You played some Canadian football? Mm-hmm. Which team?
I did. I played for the Calgary Stampeders, and which was. Hey, wow. Calgary's in the house.
Who's season ticket holders? And it's different. I mean, the field is wider. Is that what it is? And there's only 3 downs?
There's only 3 downs. Field is wider, and the pay is a big difference between the NFL. So I was up there, and I was on the practice squad. So I would, and the practice squad, you're not required to go to these team meetings on Friday. So, you know,
the practice squad doesn't have to go to the meetings?
Well, no, the practice squad would have to go to the meetings, but at the end of the week, when it's time just to put the game plan together, it's just the traveling squad.
Well, that must have been terribly hurtful.
Well, it wasn't that hurtful because I got over them. I'll tell you how. This is what happened. Up there, I was making literally $250 a week American. It was the worst time ever for me. And that's funny. Thank you. I would go to these meetings, and the guy handing out the sandwiches, they would give out these sandwiches for the traveling squad, would never look. He'd just hand them out, and I'd walk in. I said, hey, can I have some? And give me another one. And he'd say, yeah, sure. And I'd sit in these meetings, because actually it was the only way I would be able to eat over the weekend. Yeah. I'd have 3 or 4, it's very funny. That's great. Thank you. I would have these sandwiches with me, and the coach would come in and say, Dwayne, again, for the 10th week, you don't have to be in these meetings. I said, oh, really? I don't? Gee. You know, I would walk out, but I had sandwiches for the whole weekend. So
yeah, sure.
I did
Gotta use the head. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Did you ever work your way into the game squad? Did you ever play in the CFL?
I did. I played a couple of games in CFL. I remember one game in particular. We played Vancouver. But and again, it just at that time, you know, you work so hard to achieve something, and it really didn't come to fruition the way I thought.
I mean, you're still a very young man, and already you've had a very, very interesting life. I mean, to go from college football, possibilities with the NFL, and then up to the CFL, and then a big-time wrestler, now movie star. That's pretty good.
Sure.
That's a pretty good run.
Thank you.
And you were just in Spain? Is that where you were?
I was.
What were you doing there?
I was just in Spain promoting the movie, and we were up there. And just it's a funny story about Spain. Just this morning, I was in Spain, and the one thing I play classical guitar, and
Really? You play classical guitar? In addition to everything else I just ran down. I just feel like a dope now, for God's sake.
No, wait a minute. You're still Dave Letterman.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Only one.
So you found a guitar?
I did. Well, the one thing I said, listen, I told everybody around me, my team, listen, I have to go get a classical guitar because generally that's where they're made, the best ones.
Sure.
So I bought a classical guitar in Los Angeles for $8,000. Right, and exactly. And so I justified it, but, I love classical guitars. I'm going to treat myself just once. So I find this out-of-the-way place in Spain, in Madrid, and this little old shop, a little old man. I'm looking at this classical guitar, same brand that I just bought for $8,000. And I said, God, I'm looking at this. I said, I've never seen this one. It's exquisite, looks great. I said to the interpreter, can you ask him how much this is in American? And he told her, and she looked at me, and she was kind of wincing. She said, well, $300.
Can you smell what the rock is cooking? Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Congratulations on everything.
Thank you very much.
Go back and play the guitar for us.
I shall. I will.